Hey guys, it's Julien here, and today I want to make a tutorial about how to sample like Kaytranada. So I've gotten a bunch of requests for this one because I've done a few Kaytranada tutorials in the past, but I've never really talked about like his sampling technique and how to do the kind of chops like he does in some of his tracks. So what I've got here in front of me is I have a sample. It's Shaka Khan's "I Know You, I Live You," the reprise version. I'm gonna link it in the description so you can just go listen to the full track there. But this is a sample from Kaytranada's seminal track "At All." And what I've done here is I've got the sample, and then I've got sort of a recreation of the chopping he did in "At All," and I'm going to explain the theory behind it. So here's the original sample. It's actually a pretty cool track. I recommend you go and listen to it.
Without you, I'd stumble. Without each other, we would not be.
So you can hear that's where the main sample comes from. It's this little part. So then what I've done here is I've taken that part and I've brought it up here. And what we have is, you can see there's like that little section, and then there are all these little chops here. So this is the actual like sampled part. So yeah, what I've gone and done is, like I said, I just grabbed that piece that I played you that was like the section where the sample comes from, and then what I did was I just let it play out. So if I grab this and put it here, you can see basically all of this stuff, like all of this stuff that's chopped up here was already happening here. And then what I did was I just took it and like grabbed certain pieces of it. Like I took this little part and copied it over. You know, like stuff like that. And then grabbed like this part, for example, and this one. And that's just kind of what you do. Like, you're just grabbing chunks of the track, essentially, and putting them together in like this cool and rhythmic way. And the thing is that a lot of times this kind of technique can actually be kind of problematic because different parts of the song have different chords. Like, for example, this and that come from two completely different parts of the song where they're playing different chords, different sort of like harmonic things going on, but it works together because of the way that Kaytranada structures his tracks. Like, they're very much structured around the samples when he has a sample like this. He doesn't try to like write a chord progression and then put a sample over it. He gets a sample that sounds really cool and gets like some drums or a bass line or something like that and kind of builds the track around that. So that's the key. What I recommend is, if you want to make those kind of tracks, start with the sample and then just kind of work on everything from there. The track needs to be based around the sample for this technique to work. And I did this like even more like over here. Like that little chop. That part comes from this thing at the intro, this like somewhere around that part, like where she's just singing with the chords. But yeah, so this is a really cool technique. I like to use this kind of sampling technique a lot, like where you just sort of grab pieces of the track. I feel like you can make really interesting stuff, and you just get such a cool like feel when you really just let the color and texture of the original track sort of like blend in with your own stuff to make this unique and interesting sound. And that's essentially what Kaytranada does. Now, a little bit of technical stuff with this. It's important to pay attention to the fades. And if you don't know what the fades are, they're essentially, you can see on this clip, I'll put it on this track so you can see it even easier. These little things on the end where it kind of like fades in there, those are really, really important when you use the sampling technique, because what oftentimes happens if you just grab a piece of a track, like if I just go in here and get like this, what happens and what frequently happens is essentially you get these little like clicks at the start and end of the sample. You can hear one there at the start. And what those are caused by is essentially you're grabbing the piece of the sample at a point that's not a point of zero crossing. A point of zero crossing would be like, you see this line here, the straight line, when the waveform, these sort of curvy lines touch that, like right there, for example, that's a point of zero crossing. And that's the part where you're essentially not going to have any clicking, because as you can see, there's really no waveform playing. Like on a point of zero crossing, it's just silent, and then the waveform starts right after. But when you grab it on a point like this, which is not a point of zero crossing, or even more like pronounced would be like that, you are starting at like a weird place on the waveform, so it's causing that little clicking sound. And then the fades are the way that you get rid of that. So to use them, basically what you do is you just right click and hit show fades, I believe. What you can also do is if you are in Ableton and you don't have the MIDI like computer keyboard thing on, just click M to turn it off. If you click A, then they come up here, because that turns automation on and off. And yeah, so then once you have those, you just kind of like drag them over. And then the key is not to do it too much, because if you do it too much, it's just going to sound a little bit too obvious. Like if I do like that, you can kind of hear what's going on there. And if we try to copy that a bunch of times, it's not going to sound as like fluid as if we had a really smooth, kind of more subtle one, like something like this. Like that, where it's still the sample, but you can hear it's just perfect. It's no clicking. Yeah, it just plays through really smoothly. And this is like a bit technical as well. I'm not sure if this is exactly how Kaytranada does it. I know he does his sample chopping a little bit differently. Like he does what I'm doing here, I think, a lot with like hardware. Like I know he uses a machine. So I'm thinking this is kind of a similar technique to what he does, but he's just kind of like playing it live as opposed to just like sequencing it the way that I am. And also, fun fact, a really easy way to do fades if you have like a quarter note pattern like this, if you have LFO tool, what you can do is you can just get it and put it on there and then keep it on quarter notes and keep it on the volume. And if you take this point and bring it down and then take this one over here and just basically drag these over and make a really similar thing to what I was doing with the fades already on the clip in Ableton. But if we listen to that now, that also gives us like a nice fade. Like that's a really easy way to do it as well. And the only thing with this is that you don't want to do it if you don't have like a quarter note pattern, because like this part, you can hear it like a little bit. But you can also just automate it. Like you can just have it, turn off and then come on once the quarter note chops come. Simple stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just want to show you guys some techniques of how Kaytranada samples, because I've been asked a lot of questions about it actually, and I think it's a little bit mysterious, but it's really nothing too crazy. You kind of just have to play around with it. And you see, like, it's really more about the sample and just having, like, a really, really dope sample, as is the case with this one that he used in At All. So that's going to be it for today, guys. If you want to get the project file and all this kind of stuff, I'm going to be giving it away for free in the description. So make sure to pick that up so you can play around with it on your own. Make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments. You can check out my social media, which is on screen right now, as well as my sample packs, which are all in the description below. Thank you again, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another tutorial.